The PlayStation 2 is an absolute powerhouse of a console. Not hardware-wise, but in regards to how many incredible games are on it, and the fact it is still the best-selling console of all time. Growing up with this console was the best. No, it's not because I'm nostalgic. Shut up! Now, despite the PlayStation 2 having a huge library of games, I didn't actually own a lot of them when I was a kid. And there are a lot of games that are considered masterpieces that I've just never played before. But there is one specific series on the PlayStation 2 that I played the absolute shit out of. A series that I fucking love and will always love to the day I die. That series being the Crazy Frog racing games. What can I say that hasn't been said about these two masterpieces? I just bloody love them so much. Bring back Crazy Frog's penis. Sorry about that. I mean, despite them being absolute bangers, I was meant to say the Ratchet Clank trilogy. Well, now this is awkward. It's completely ruined the flow of the video. The Ratchet Clank trilogy on the PlayStation 2 is incredible. I absolutely adore these three games so fucking much. That does include Deadlocked. I know that was on the PS2 as well, but I have a separate video dedicated to that game already, so shh. The Ratchet Clank trilogy is a series created by Insomniac Games, who were previously known for Spyro the Dragon, but everyone knows them now for Spider-Man and probably Wolverine when that shit comes out eventually. All three of these games have you playing as a furry creature called Ratchet, buying illegal weaponry and committing mass genocide on a huge variety of different planets. Look fellas, I'm in Birmingham. I wonder why Ratchet needs a gas mask here. You do all of this aside a little robot fella named Clank. Now that's a very basic summary of these games, but these three games do have quite a lot of differences. But we'll get to that. For starters, let's look at the game in the series that started it all. Let's go back to where it all began on the 4th of November 2002 with the original release of Ratchet Clank. Insomniac Games started off insanely strong with the first Ratchet & Clank. It was a critical slam dunk, and the game deserves all of the praise it got. No, it's not because I'm biased that this one is my favourite out of the three. Shut up! Biases aside, I do feel like this is an incredible start for the series. The game has a few issues that are refined in the sequels for sure, but like, damn, it's really fucking good. The game begins on planet Veldin, where we see a Lombax named Ratchet trying to repair his ship. He's unable to accomplish this as he needs a
robotic ignition system.
Yeah, what she said. It then cuts to a factory on a different planet producing robots. There's a malfunction in the system and we witness Clank's birth. And oh my, it's very graphic. The first thing Clank sees is this little fella hovering, staring into his robotic soul. These are called infobots and they play little videos for the player, giving you coordinates to new planets. Clank sees what's on the infobot and it shocks him, causing him to flee the factory. I wonder what he saw.
Oh, the camera's on. The camera's been on the whole time, huh?
In the depths of space, Clank is shot down, conveniently crash landing on the planet Ratchet is on, Veldin. Ratchet sees the ship Clank is in crash land, and of course it piques his interest, beginning the game. Now, Veldin is a pretty great starting planet. It teaches the player the mechanics of the game very easily, from the platforming to the melee combat with Ratchet's wrench. Smacking boxes will never not be satisfying in this game. Also, get used to this lovely sound. It never gets old. You're even taught how to use weapons of mass destruction, although you only have one weapon right now, the bomb glove.
Hey, how you doing?
The game even teaches you about how health works, although if you somehow manage to take any damage from these fucking goobs, you should be ashamed of yourself. Ratchet finds Clank and takes him back to his ship, thinking he's just scored some good ass scrap or something. While Ratchet is repairing his ship, Clank wakes up and scares the living shit out of him.
Interesting.
After Ratchet gets his shit together, they have a natter and Clank asks where he can find the biggest superhero in the universe, Captain Quark, as he states the galaxy is in danger, and Ratchet is all like, you fucking what? So Clank shows him the infobot. The infobot being the main villain Chairman Drek's master plan, extracting parts of planets to make his own planet because his home planet Auxon is uninhabitable due to the immense amount of factories causing pollution. Pollution that he caused, and he'll bloody do it again.
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
After watching it, Ratchet is like, yeah, that sucks and all, and I would help you find Quark to save the galaxy from impending doom, but I don't have a robotic ignition system, so I can't start my shitty little ship. And then Clank is like, mate, I can sort that for you, and bam, that's how the game starts. And quickly ends when they get to the planet Novalis. Novalis is technically the proper tutorial planet for the player. Well, it's a tutorial for how the level design works on the many planets you'll be exploring. Oh, and the Gadgetron shop is here, where you can buy new weapons, but that's not important right now. Your poor ass can't afford shit. So right off the bat, you will notice there are multiple paths to take, 3 to be exact, and each one has different forms of challenges the player will face. The first one you're most likely to take is the one that the camera was facing once you regain control, making it feel like the most important path, but you'll learn quickly that the path is just full of robots that want to nibble Ratchet's feet. His weird Lombax feet. They always freak me out, man. What the hell are these things? Going down this path without any new weapon that's good for crowd control isn't the smartest idea. Conveniently enough, the weapon in the store right now is a crowd control weapon, the Pyrocitor. But like I said earlier, you can't fucking afford it, you stupid twat. So the smart thing to do right now would be to take another path. One of these paths is a cave, which teaches the player about swimming. It's the thing you can do in the game. It is kinda cool. When I was a kid, I would always let Ratchet drown. Don't know what that says about me, to be honest. You go through this cave killing a few enemies and just grabbing a few bolts, and you find out that it just loops back to where you crash landed. It's a bit underwhelming, but hey, you probably have enough bolts to buy the Pyrocitor now. Well, now you have the Pyrocitor, but instead of going down the path we wanted to go down originally, let's go down the other path, because I'm #different. Now, this path is more of a platforming challenge, where you're scaling this really cool facility, jumping around on all the machinery. Bit of a safety hazard, but hey, what can you do? At the end of this, you meet an iconic Ratchet and Clank character, the Plumber. He's introduced in a very epic way.
Look, Plumber's crack.
What did you just say?
I said, look, the plumber's back.
Now he's willing to give you an infobot that he knows will help you save the galaxy, if you're willing to pay him.
I can't afford this shit!
Teaching the player that everyone in this fucking galaxy is looking out for themselves.
How about I sell you these? At cost.
Sell? After we just saved your scrawny butt?
They just want cash and they don't give a shit about anyone. It's kinda like real life. Obviously you buy the infobot and get coordinates to a new planet, but then it hits you. How the fuck do you get there? You don't have a ship. Well, now the only other path to take is the path you tried taking originally. You kill all the enemies and jump around a bit, then you meet this fellow who gives you another infobot. This infobot being an advertisement for Al's Robo Shack on Metropolis, giving you new coordinates to another brand new planet. There's an issue though. How the fuck are Ratchet and Clank gonna get to these new planets? They don't have a ship. Oh wait, a new ship. Cool. During your adventure, you will learn that these other planets you explore follow this same structure, with branching paths with different rewards at the end. There are actually moments where you can't progress down a certain path because you need to acquire a certain gadget from another planet. It's cool shit and it definitely makes the game feel like an adventure. Whenever you get to a new planet, there are usually new weapons in the shop too. Some of the weapons are not worth your time though. While exploring these vibrant worlds, the first thing that always hits you once Ratchet jumps out of his ship is the music. The Ratchet and Clank soundtrack is easily the best soundtrack to ever exist. I'm not even exaggerating. I usually use these tracks in my videos all the time. They're just so iconic. Every single planet's track sounding extremely distinct, and let me tell you, they are all funky as fuck. Take a listen to some of my favorites. PlayStation 2 Ratchet & Clank games have incredible soundtracks too, but they don't match the funky feel with the first games. Now, I mentioned earlier how Clank is looking for Captain Quark, the galaxy's biggest superhero, and Ratchet is willing to help him with that because he thinks that Captain Quark can make him a superhero too. And make him rich, because you know that's the theme of this game. Well, for the first third of the game, that's the goal.
We urgently need your assistance.
Clank,
Yes?
do you notice anything unusual about Captain Quark?
Well, I find the fact that he has a spring where his leg should be to be quite puzzling.
And why do you think that is?
Possibly an injury incurred while battling evil?
This isn't the real Captain Quark, you numbskull. It's a robot.
Oh.
This guy is fucking stupid!
And they managed to reach the goal, finding Captain Quark in his weirdly barren trailer. Seriously, you should decorate this shithole, you big-chinned green twat. Quark is willing to help Ratchet become a hero and help them with stopping Chairman Drek, but he wants to test them first at his secret headquarters on planet Umbrus. This is one of the few planets that doesn't have multiple paths to take. It's just a beeline through Quark's obstacle course to the end. And despite this, it's still an awesome level. Once you conquer his weirdly dangerous obstacle course, something feels off at the end, and Ratchet can tell. Clank is extremely optimistic and believes that Quark is actually here to help, but he isn't. He betrays them and tries murdering them. His blarking Snagglebeast is hungry, let me tell you, and he's about to get some lovely scran. Yeah, it turns out Quark is working for Chairman Drek, because he's promised to be the spokesperson for Drek's new planet. He's a fucking fraud. Don't look up to your heroes, kids, because they aren't what they make themselves out to be. After the boss fight, the dynamic between Ratchet and Clank shifts completely. Ratchet fucking hates Clank for making them both fall for Quark's trap, and his mission completely changes. He wants to kill Quark. He doesn't give a single shit about the galaxy, he just wants revenge. This doesn't change the gameplay though, you're still gonna be going around exploring planets, but with every step, Ratchet and Clank just argue and resent each other the whole time. Honestly, it's good shit.
Well, go on. Go fight some evil.
At least I'm not a coward.
Whatever.
At least I'm not a coward.
Nice to see some conflict between the pair. Something fucking absent in the shitty remake. Okay, we aren't talking about the remake. I don't want to talk about the remake.
Hashtag Gadgetron.
2/3 of the way through, Ratchet manages to get revenge on Quark, shooting down his ship, and after it, Ratchet finally sees the damage Chairman Drek is causing to the planets in the galaxy, killing loads of innocent people, and it hits Ratchet how blind he's been to what is actually important. Blinded by revenge. Pretty deep character development for a game rated for 3-year-olds. Hot take, but I think Ratchet in this game is the best version of Ratchet in the entire franchise. He's in a universe that doesn't care about him. Everyone is just looking out for themselves, even when the galaxy is in peril, so of course he's a cynical, selfish fella. And honestly, it feels pretty relatable. And that's why I like him so much in this game. The final third of the game is them slowly getting closer to taking down Drek, doing shit like infiltrating his killer robot factory where Clank was born. We actually end up in that specific room where he was born, and Clank speaks to the computer who made him, which he refers to as his mother. Yeah, it's a bit weird. But this scene plays out.
I will try to make you proud, Mom.
It gets me every time, man. Ratchet actually gets his own personal moment too before this. Clank's mother gives birth to an infobot. Yeah, don't ask. Turns out Chairman Drek is getting ready to destroy Ratchet's home planet Veldin for his own new planet. And let me tell you, Ratchet is not gonna take this shit, leading on to the final mission taking place where it all started. It's so fucking good, what can I say? I mean, you also infiltrate Drek's ship just before this final level, but shh. This level has a fucking bopping ass soundtrack though. The original Ratchet & Clank will always be my favourite in the franchise, but it isn't perfect, and there is shit that the sequels do significantly better. Like combat. Ratchet & Clank lacks a strafe button, so using weapons can feel very clunky, unless you're using a crowd control weapon like the Pyrocita where you can just spin. I guess it does add a bit of a strategic factor to the combat, as a lot of weapons are designed around this. But yeah, it's done way better in the sequels, where Ratchet & Clank truly finds its identity, for the better and for the worst. I love the original Ratchet & Clank so much, but I think now it's time to move on to the next game in the series, which is actually my least played one out of the three, so I'm not entirely sure how to start with this one.
Don't worry lad, Ratchet & Clank 2 is pretty much my parental guardian, so let me take this. Ratchet & Clank 2 is an incredible sequel that refines and builds on the original. It takes no time in telling you that this game is gonna slap. Fucking hell, Insomniac, you didn't need to nuke me with perfection 1 second in. Ratchet & Clank 2 follows up right where we left our dynamic duo, in a chair playing Ratchet, what the fuck? Months have passed since their heroic showdown with the bad man, but since then they've not done much, with Ratchet being bored out his nut, itching to be the hero once again. So conveniently, Megacorp owner Abercrombie Fidgewidget ambushes the duo with a proposition to save the Bowgun Galaxy, and be heroes once again. All Ratchet has to do is retrieve a top secret stolen experiment, whilst Clank makes Club Penguin accounts or something. Don't know why else you'd need an accountant. So of course Ratchet agrees on the spot, and off to save the Club Penguin puffle we go. From the very first mission, it's clear they're not messing around, with an incredible track that slaps so hard it almost gave me a concussion, combined with the cool level design that may or may not look like a penis, which those aspects alone were enough. But you also start the game with a walking war crime. Now that's a bold move. The improvements to combat are immediately clear, with strafing being front and centre, paired with weapons that encourage more movement, speeding up and refining the combat to give it a better flow, which goes hand in hand with the improvement of Ratchet's personal abilities, as he's no longer some random mechanic. He's got the training and experience now, which the first mission sets up this idea perfectly. Going from grenades to nuclear fission, now that's character development. Well, anyways, that means nothing, because the thief escapes with the experiment, so now you've got to track them down once again and retrieve the experiment. It's a perfect setup that's short and sweet, showcasing the gameplay improvements, whilst also setting up the story with excellent humour mixed throughout. Like the original, through the game you will travel to a class variety of unique planets, starting with Uzla, a fantastic level that's home to a Megacorp outlet, returning to traditional level design with multiple paths and more platforming sections. And there is a simple but fun boss fight, not to mention this godly banger of a tune. Play this at my funeral. But it's at the end of this level that we find out Clank has been robo-napped. Yes, very sad. Anyways, off to gamble. But before we can gamble, Ratchet is ambushed in the game's very first ship combat section, refined and expanded from the original, which ends up being surprisingly well fleshed out, and is an intense fun addition that shows up throughout the game, breaking up the usual gameplay loop, with other cool aspects like the ability to upgrade your ship in different ways, although you can't upgrade from being shite at flying. Detour aside, Ratchet arrives at the Maktar Resort, pretty much the New Vegas of Ratchet and Clank, which, by the way, it looked unreasonably good, with nowhere near enough meth heads. It's another fantastic mission filled with cool gimmicks, varied combat and platforming sections, with it holding the first battle arena, an arena that lets you take on various challenges for bolts and equipment, which could include fighting iconic bosses like Brain with legs and Guy with two swords. It's such a simple premise, but it's so much fun having a dedicated area that lets you put your ever-growing arsenal to the test. And after giving everyone in the crowd some severe PTSD, you get rewarded with the electrolyzer, which allows you to open doors through these puzzles, because keys are overrated anyways. After stressing yourself out with the reaction-based electrolyzer puzzle, fuck, this is the reason why I've been balding since 6! Ratchet finally finds out Clank has been captured, and he's no happy chappy, so off to save our compadre El Clanko we go. After arriving at Indanko and a moderately sized massacre of robots later, we free Clank, leading to the game's very first Clank section, as Ratchet is too big for the only exit. Mate, what are you doing? And yeah, it's a Clank section. It's fun enough, but it is a bit of a pace breaker. So reunited once again, with a few murders, some ratchet cart, and a tad of genocide later, we finally catch up with the thief, where we can finally take them on, in a pretty cool boss fight as you find on top of moving vehicles to a rocket launching pad. Alright, chill Elon Musk, that no a bit extreme mate, couldn't you just, you know, kill it? But despite wannabe Twitter man's best efforts, we beat the thief and retrieve the experiment, whilst the thief makes another sly getaway. But that's it, you've completed the mission, so you head to Tabora to meet Fidgewidget and finally deliver this wee shite. Unfortunately, Fidgewidget dolphin dives your ship, leaving it in smithereens, but it's cool, Fidgewidget will give you a ride anyways. Fuck. So after a brief debate on whether being abandoned was on accident or not, you make your way to the surface, where you once again bump into Elon, looking to steal back the blue shite you just gave to Fidgewidget. But they fall, and holy shit, it's actually Elon with an E. 2 E's. So yeah, the thief turns out to be a Lombax, but neuralize this memory because Insomniac decided in the later games that this never happened, and Ratchet is in fact the only Lombax. Apart from when he isn't. But she also explains that we are actually working for the bad guys, which after committing mass atrocities, Ratchet and Clank think it's probably best to investigate this further. So they scour the open desert for a while, getting crystals so a meth head can fix their ship. And after raiding another Megacorp facility, the duo gets access to a secret tape regarding the experiment. Shit, the Lombax was right. It's a fucking repeat sex offender! Ratchet and Clank still not putting it together, they try to warn Fidgewidget and find him. Even more murders and turning people into sheep later, we find out the blue shite is to be a product that they plan to sell to the masses, which could lead to the galaxy being consumed by an army of blue balls. After learning this, the duo finally tracks down Fidgewidget, and, oh for fuck's sake, another ambush! So the duo end up imprisoned. But yeah, that's fine as long as there's not another Clank section. You both escape with relative ease, but the smell of freedom is met with, well fuck, as we find out Angela the Lombax has also been captured, so we should probably save her. But at the moment, she can wait, because I really want to get a bouncer. A bit of grinding, one bouncer, and a hard mission later, we find Angela in a big Iron Man prison. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a militia leader, but this doesn't seem like the most effective use of resources. What's stylistically a cool fight is kinda shite mechanically, as pissing on him and hoping he rusts to death would be more effective than the turrets you're encouraged to use. But despite not using your urine, you prevail, save Angela, and prepare to deal with the issue head on. And after some last minute detours, you battle through Megacorp headquarters for the chance to destroy the original protopet, as this will shut down all the other protopets. But before you can get there, Fidgewidget shows up and it's revealed that it was Quark all along.
Alright, just what the f is going on?
We find out Quark created the protopet so he could save the galaxy from disaster and become the hero once again. But as Quark tries to save the day, he messes up by accidentally giving the protopet some hardcore steroids. So once again, it's left up to Ratchet and Clank to save the day and take out the... Right, I don't know, I've ran out of things to call the big blue furry ball now. It's a decent enough fight, but it mainly consists of just circle strafing and the occasional platform drop. But when you finally take it out, we meet with the real Fidgewidget that was tied up all this time, whilst Angela cures the other protopets. And that's pretty much it. Happy endings for everyone. Well, apart from Quark. Whilst Ratchet and Clank 2's story doesn't have as much development between the characters or personal stakes as the original, the smart humour and lovable characters make it an enjoyable ride, which combined with the world building and hilarious play on consumerism, makes it kinda hard not to love it, despite its lesser depth. But the major gameplay improvements are stellar, bringing aspects like weapon XP, where you can pretty much evolve your weapon, which is such a cool feeling. Also, it incentivizes you to use a variety of weapons to level them all up, which is even better because the new weapon lineup is fantastic, with all them being so much fun to use, which combined with the constant satisfying progression and great pacing, it makes playing this game so much fun. And worth noting, if you're wondering why the helmet's about 20 sizes too big, all the gameplay was from the HD collection, which is why there's some technical glitches that weren't in the original. Ratchet and Clank 2 is an incredible sequel that understood what was great about the original whilst finding new ways to improve upon the formula. It's the perfect sweet spot in the franchise that balances the platforming and combat to make a game that absolutely excels in delivering sheer fun. Okay, so supposed to segue here. Why isn't the stupid fucking thing playing?
You know,
Massive guns!
What a load of bullshit.
Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. I fucking love censorship, man. It's so good. Now, this game is considered amongst the fan base as either the best game in the entire franchise or the most disappointing one in the trilogy. Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal was the first game I ever played in my entire life, so the game means a lot to me, but I'm not gonna be biased towards my childhood best friend. He's got a lot of issues. He's also addicted to crack, which is what Sony must have been on with the time window they gave Insomniac to make this game. Ratchet & Clank 3 was made in less than a fucking year, and the mad lads at Insomniac managed to make a pretty great game in that time, which is impressive as fuck. I mean, of course there was a lot of crunch and mental torment for the developers, but I don't think they want you knowing about that part. Something extremely unique to the third game was a multiplayer mode, which I'm not going to talk about. Barely played it as a kid, so I don't really have much to say about it. Ratchet & Clank 3 begins with the two lads chilling in their new apartment playing some sort of sci-fi chess. I have no idea.
Check and mate.
This is bullshit.
Suddenly there's breaking news that Ratchet's home planet Veldin is being attacked. Again. This is something that you're going to be seeing quite a bit in this game. Fan service. Kinda like another third game in another series, ooh. Just like in the first game, Ratchet is pissed off by this and decides to go back to Veldin, but for some reason this time it doesn't feel personal. Ratchet just looks angry once, and while he's back on Veldin all destroyed and shit, he just looks fucking gormless, like he doesn't care. You literally go through his home all destroyed and desolate at one point, and there's even a cutscene in the wreck, and he just doesn't acknowledge it. It's weird. On Veldin, you're introduced to a group known as the Galactic Rangers, and they're supposed to be protectors of the galaxy or some shit, but the first cutscene where you're introduced to them, they just throw you a shotgun and run away. They do this twice. Ratchet has to tell them not to be a massive fucking pussy in the third cutscene. Fuck you! The first thing you will notice while playing through Veldin is the gameplay, and my god, this shit has been refined. The gunplay is really nice, but I would recommend setting the game to lock strafe to truly experience the combat of this game. Not sure why this isn't the default setting. If the first Ratchet & Clank is the platforming one, with Going Commando being the one that combines combat and platforming equally, then this is the one that truly embraces combat, with a bit of platforming too, but it's basically been neglected. This sadly means that a lot of the Ratchet & Clank level design with multiple paths to take has kind of just been tossed out of the window in exchange for linear paths. It's kind of boring. The original formula is there for a small number of planets you go to, making these the best planets in the game honestly, but it's very few and far between. I feel like they couldn't make use of the multiple path level design because of the time constraints. Must have also impacted the environment artist too, because some of these planets look like shit. Remember how I said this game has quite a bit of fan service? Well, besides Veldin, you go back to two other planets from the first game, and both of them are lacking of any of the charm from the original. However, the remix soundtracks for these levels, they're fucking banging, being more loud and bombastic, fitting the combat focused gameplay. I can't hate these levels too much. I'm secretly a sucker for fan service, but Blackwater City can suck my ass. They literally just made one of those shitty arena levels, helping the Galactic Rangers using a map from the multiplayer mode. These arenas appear quite a lot throughout the game, usually only able to be accessed once you finish the level, being an optional challenge. So making it an entire level is just shit, especially when it's based on one of the best levels from the original game. There's an entire planet dedicated to the arena matches of Ratchet & Clank Going Commando though. This is a good ass planet, I'll give the game that. In between these planets, Ratchet & Clank 3 does something brand new for the series. It has a hub area, the Starship Phoenix. I always love coming back here because my god, the music slaps. I'm gonna stop doing these examples now because what music in this trilogy doesn't fucking slap? They're all fucking bangers, let's be real. There's quite a few things to do in the Starship Phoenix. For example, there's this little cool training arena you can fight in with different challenges. You can also test out weapons you might not be able to afford yet in this arena. It's also where you buy armor for Ratchet. It's cool shit. There's also a game console where you have to play these mandatory Quark vid comics to progress through the game. I've never been a fan of these, even as a kid. They're these Mega Man style 2D platforming stages, and yeah, I don't know. I can imagine if you're a Mega Man fan, these are sick. The one positive I can say about these though is the second vid comics music is very funny and I use it a lot in my videos. The stakes are way higher in Up Your Arsenal compared to the others in the trilogy. The main villain, Dr. Nefarious, wants to turn every organic life form into robots. I would make a joke here, but I don't think that would be a good idea. Dr. Nefarious is easily the best villain in the entire franchise, and Insomniac knew that, so they milked him like the robotic cow he is. The fucker is even in the newest game. Like, calm down, man, give him a break. He's the most competent in Up Your Arsenal though, actually succeeding in his plan, and fucking attacking the Starship Phoenix itself at some point, making the Galactic Rangers lose hope that they have any chance of beating the guy.
I estimate our odds at approximately 1 in 63 million, give or take.
Hey, that's, well, you know, not so bad.
What a fucking dumbass!
He's actually funny in this game too. I don't think the gimmick of him getting mad to the point of malfunctioning, causing a weird ass rom-com to play from his head, will ever get old to me.
Oh, Janice, you'll always be the love of my life.
You really should have that looked at.
His boss fight at the end is fucking challenging too. It's actually recommended that you buy the ultimate armor for 1,000,000 bolts just to have a chance of beating him. I have no idea how I beat him as a fucking 3-year-old. When he fights in the big mech though, it kind of falls apart. This shit is a joke. So if you remember, I mentioned earlier how this game's main focus is the combat. Well, the weaponry in the game, as per usual, is awesome and very creative. They also expanded on the upgrade mechanic from Ratchet Clank Going Commando. You're now able to level up a weapon 5 times, so get used to seeing this animation. It's a cool mechanic that actually becomes a staple in the series from this point onwards. The combat still has some issues though. It feels like combat for a platforming game, if that makes any sense. But listen, they truly refined it in the spin-off Ratchet Deadlocked, which you should definitely watch my video on. Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal could have been the best game in the trilogy, and honestly, I do completely understand why people consider it the best. Hell, even I considered it the best for a while, but that's because I was biased to the fact it was the first game I had ever played. Up Your Arsenal was definitely held back by its limited development time. It was extremely stupid of Sony expecting them to make a sequel in under a year, but I guess times were different back then. It really is a shame, but the madmen at Insomniac still managed to make a great game that I can easily go back to whenever and enjoy. And I am really glad that this was the game that got me into my hobby of playing games. It will always mean a lot to me despite its flaws. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. I can imagine this video is fairly long, but I had a lot to say about the Ratchet & Clank games. It's a series that means a lot to me, and I still absolutely adore the series to this day. Even in the dark times, I still held on. I want to thank my friend Callum, the Sober Scot, for talking about Going Commando. It's his favourite in the series, so I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about it. You should all definitely check out his content. It's honestly some of the best stuff I've seen on YouTube, and his subscriber and view count is criminally low for the quality of his content, so check out his stuff. If you really enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. You get all these cool little emotes and a little icon next to your name whenever you leave a comment. Look, if you join for a certain amount of time, you get this little fish icon. Who doesn't want that, right? What, are you expecting some sort of joke here? This video is already long enough as it is. I don't have time to fit in some stupid joke. Just let the video end.
It was mating season. How could I have known she was your sister? How long have you two been standing there?
Too long.